Hi, thanks for joining us. Michael will be going through a demo of the new replication screen that we will have in MVX 1.8, which is scheduled for an October release. We hope that this helps visualize what is happening in replication for you between your distributions and how to resolve a number of different problems so you can see exactly what's happening. I will turn it over to Michael. Feel free to ask questions. He's great at demoing. So I'm excited for you to see this.
Awesome. Thanks for the warm welcome, everyone. And hello, everyone I haven't yet met. The MVX team has been working really hard on refactoring this UI for you all. Alrighty, so let's dive right into the replication experience. As we know, we enter through our application and we see the list of servers or instances as we call them. We'll go ahead and click View, and we're brought to this performance dashboard right here. Eventually, in Q3, we anticipate building out one more of these awesome widgets that give the end user a snapshot of what to expect once you click into that performance experience section. But for now, we're going to click through the side navigation. As soon as we get into the replication experience, we see that there is a lot of data brought to the top level of the content pane for the end user to go ahead and sift through. But before we get into the tables, I want to draw everyone's attention up here to the top right corner. You'll see that we have this component here that we call the subheader. The subheader holds more so global actions that directly correlate with the content pane at hand. So for example, if I wanted to go ahead and change the actual instance that I'm reviewing for replication, I can go ahead and do that from right here. There's no need to go back to the Instances tab to start your journey over. So I'll go back to the instance that has a bit more data on board for us. The second piece inside this subheader that I want to mention is the auto refresh rate. The auto refresh rate directly pertains to everything that you'll see with inside of the content pane. So right now I'm currently refreshing at 10 seconds, but let's bump that up to 3 seconds and maybe we can see if something on here will change. Oh, we did just get a change here. And so we are seeing that the data is refreshing at a 3-second refresh rate to escalate any issues that we may have that we want the end user to be aware of inside of a replication distribution, as well as a replication group. So the options here is pausing all the way up to 1 minute. So we do allow our end users to refresh at multiple rates, but I urge you to think about a rate that might be best for your product or best for your instances. And if you don't see it here, please do let us know later on in the meeting. So I'm going to bump this up to 1 minute for the sake of our demo. Okay, so again, those are global actions that directly impact what we see inside of the content pane. So now let's dive into the content pane. Over here on the left, you'll see that we have a replication distribution title. This table directly pertains to the relational distributions between instances that basically make up replication. So you'll notice a lot of the same instance over here in the primary instance slot. This primary instance is also the instance that we selected from the dropdown up here inside of the subheader. So the primary instance has a relationship, or as we call a distribution, with other instances that we will basically show the relation of between utilizing these arrows and icons. So you'll see that we have a connected field and an in-sync field. We wanted to make sure that the end user was getting all necessary information and statuses escalated based on that relational distribution. We also have a hover state here that allows the end user to see what exactly that relationship is. So this one is immediately subscribing, this one is a publishing relationship, and as you can see, the direction of the arrows actually indicate what relationship that is. So even without hovering, once the end user becomes comfortable with the interface, they'll be able to tell what sort of relationship is occurring right here. Right now, we've got immediate subscribing and immediate publishing with inside of our relational distribution table. Now, you're probably wondering, I see a ton of icons, and I've never seen a lime green icon with a check mark before, so what could that possibly mean? Well, I want to draw our attention up here to the header section of the replication distribution table. You'll notice that we have two actions up here. One of them is indeed a table legend. So we wanted to make sure that we provided the end users with all of the definitions of those icons that they're going to run into on this replication content pane. This will make sure that you can always revisit those definitions, always get the right answer, and then be able to take action accordingly based off of what is escalating in your replication distribution. The other piece of information that's currently living in the header is the advanced statistics. This is more of an aggregate view for the relational distribution at large. You'll see that we have a similar icon over here on the groups table, and that is more so at a group level, but we'll get to that. So let's focus our attention back here on the replication distribution statistics. We're currently seeing a deeper dive for packets, records, time behind, compression. If the end user is unfamiliar with the definition of compression, we've provided a tooltip here for you. And what we really wanted to accomplish is creating value by bringing all of those layers of data, all of the searching that an end user may have to do in order to achieve this information, and bring it up to a level where it is one click and you're presented with the information in relation to the selected row. So let me go ahead and select a different row here, and you'll notice everything that changes on the interface according to the selected row that I am currently on. So you'll notice that the data here is different than if I were up here. And you'll see that it is also going to refresh at the rate that we've provided. But I've done a minute, so it may be taking a little bit extra time. So to finish off the replication distribution table, we actually have something called replication progress. And this is basically letting us know the status of our replication on this relational distribution. There are a few other states that aren't currently displayed here, and that's just because our distributions are not actually dealing with those other states at the time being. But I'll go ahead and show you those in the design phase once we get through the replication groups table. The last column that we have here is the catch-up rate, and this is the distance between the distribution with primary as well as the primary instance. So it's the time that is between these two meeting up to make sure that they are completely connected and are completely in sync. So you might see something escalate if we had one of these, let's see, one of these red icons or potentially one of these LSN stuck icons. That would definitely be able to give the end user a bit more value by knowing where exactly the issue lies, what the duration of the catch-up rate is, and how to go about fixing that. So that completes the demo around the replication distribution table. So we're going to go ahead and move over to the replication groups table. As some of us may know in this meeting, is that replication groups directly fall underneath or with inside of a replication distribution. So as you can see, as I'm taking action on the primary table, I'm able to see the groups change based on the distribution that I have currently. So some may have a large number of groups, some may have only one group with inside of them. I do urge you to give us some feedback around the number of groups that most of your replication distributions will have. Is the average number of groups that one may have 5? Is it 20? Is it 40? Is it 2? We would love to hear that feedback from you as well, so we can strategize accordingly for things like scroll or pagination. How many should be displayed on the page at one time? Your feedback really does impact how the UI works and functions, so we welcome that greatly. Let's go ahead and dive in deeper to the replication table. You'll see we've got our replication group. We have a similar connected and in sync status, but instead of being an aggregate view, we have it at the group level. So now we're really digging in and defining how we're interacting with our groups within inside of a distribution. We indicate our pacing, whether it's on and off. The group status looks like we're running, so all in good hands here. And then we also take that same replication progress for all groups and we break it down per group. So basically, all 5 of these committed statuses come together to make up this aggregate all groups replication progress status. Another deeper dive here. We've got the pub/sun done difference, and we've also got the rep logs used displayed. These columns are feedback that we gain directly from some customers. If something doesn't make sense or you are totally aligned with what you're seeing here, we'd love that feedback too. Let's take a look at an edge case. Right now, I'm currently selected on the last replication distribution, and you'll notice in my in sync column that we have this bug icon up here. Well, let's take a quick look over here as well. When we don't see any bug icons, we notice that the bug icon up here is actually disabled for us. So there's no action to take on this bug icon unless there's a stalled LSN inside of our system, right? So we draw your attention up here to take action on that LSN as well. This ticket, I will say, is currently being worked on in our current iteration. The flyout I will show you in just a second. That is in the design phase right now, or actually it's in the development phase, but I do have a visual of it in the design phase. So I'll go ahead and show you that in just a second. The other icons that we have here is the advanced statistics, similar to the one you've seen on the replication distribution table, as well as group files, something to give us a snapshot of all of the groups files that live within inside of the group that we are reviewing. Let's dive in now to the design phase so that you can see a deeper snapshot of where replication anticipates to go. I'm going to move us back up to the replication distribution table, and please mind you, these visualizations you are seeing now are design phase. There has been changes, there has been development discussions that point us in a better direction than you are currently seeing here. So please do take these designs with a grain of salt. These are work in progress, and these are not the final product. But I will pull out a few pieces here that I want to make known before we move forward. So as I was talking about all of those arrows that depict the distribution's relationship between the two instances, you'll see here, these are all of the possible statuses that you can see conveyed in the connected and the in-sync statuses. One thing I do want to point out before we head back down there to see them all is that you'll see this dashed red arrow with the most severe icons you could have in the replication distribution table. It's populated at the top. And I know that our current UI is not displaying a replication distribution with such a status, but I want to make it known that we are sorting those critical distributions to the top of your table for you. So you'll never have to go looking for where the issue is. We're bringing it to the top row for you, or, top 5 rows if we happen to have issues on all of the distributions, but we're hoping that's not the case, right? That's how we're going to go ahead and sort the issues for you up to the top of the table. But down here, you'll see here's all of the statuses that we have. Green, green, this means everything's peachy keen. Green, lime green, this means that we have something pending here. When I say pending, this could mean that the end user has taken it upon themselves to fix the stalled LSN, and we just want to make sure that the table directly indicates that something is in pending status and we're waiting for either a refresh or we're waiting for confirmation on the user side to make sure that we can toggle this one to be completely connected and in sync. Yellow here means that there's a warning that you might want to check into on the connected status. And red means red alert, we've got something broken. We want to make sure that the end user takes action on this one first. And that's why we've gone ahead and changed the arrow for you as well, so that you do see that there is something critical and that action is necessary. And then you'll notice that the arrows are pointing in the other direction. Like I said, it's either a publisher going to a subscriber, or it's a dual relationship where we have the subscriber publishing back to the publisher. Now we're going to move over to the replication groups table and pick it up where we left off, these top right-hand corner icons. Let's first dive in here to the stalled LSN. When we toggle open the bug icon, we'll see that we have the title of the affiliated group for the LSN. So this will indicate the row that you've selected on, and the name will populate here. And then we provide these data points for the end user to take action on the stalled LSN. We also provide an opportunity to skip this stalled LSN. And when you do skip this stalled LSN, we will toggle that icon into the lime green pending status, just to indicate that something happened on the interface. Value here is that previous replication interface, we did not provide this functionality. And so now we are giving end users an in-application opportunity to skip a stalled LSN. Moving forward, this again is the same sort of look and feel as the advanced statistics from the replication distribution table. None of the data has changed. It is just in a group scope rather than an aggregate scope. And finally, we have here the group files flyout. This is where we're going to provide you the account that the group is affiliated with, the file names within inside of the group, a potential type of the file, as well as indicating the dynamic space for the file. So now you may have gotten a sneak peek over here of what we're going to actually mold the interface into. As you can see here, we have a ton of unutilized blank space that is just crying out for an opportunity to show you more. So again, big value here is by bringing all of those tiny details, those smaller data points that we may have to dig for, to the top level. And so one way that we envision doing that is by creating a few graphs here. You'll notice that the titles here in the graphs are in relation to the tables that are directly above them. So this one says all groups, this one also says all groups, and we are capturing information around the concurrency trend for all groups, as well as the estimated time to catch up for all groups. And because it says all groups, we have this tooltip here to help us also understand that this is based on the selected replication distribution right above us. If you feel that this indicator isn't enough or it doesn't necessarily align with your thinking, would love some feedback there too. But we wanted to show these two graphs to bring value for the catch-up rate, the estimated time to catch up, as well as the concurrency trend in relation to the replication distribution table. Over here on the right, you'll see that we have two more tables, but the naming conventions have changed. These naming conventions will repopulate every single time the end user selects a different group from the groups table above. So now we're capturing concurrency trend for group 2, as well as the pacing weight for group 2. So we wanted to provide these 4 charts so that we have something that we can also provide value with around the auto refresh rate. Now, when I say that, let's go ahead and take a look here at the laptop screenshot sizing. So again, we were just looking at the desktop, and now we're looking at the laptop. So you'll notice the charts are just a bit smaller. But I'll take you through how these graphs actually are going to work in correlation with the auto refresh rate. So right now it's indicating we're on 10 seconds. If I were to change this down to, let's say, 5 seconds, we would see that the charts would turn into something with an overlay without any data points. That's to make sure that we are actually refreshing the data based on your new auto refresh rate. And so once we refresh the data for your new auto refresh rate, we plot the first point. The new auto refresh rate will then increment the data until we have a full line chart. So within 30 seconds, you'll be able to grab a snapshot of the previous 30 seconds of data that are coming through at a 5-second interval. And again, we want to make sure that we provide you all with the hover experience here. So as we have a tooltip here to help indicate where we are, we wanted to give you a deeper snapshot of an exact number in relation to concurrency trend log entries. So we've got a timestamp here for you, as well as the exact number of log entries at that timestamp. We have the exact number of entries at the catch-up rate for that timestamp, and so on and so on. These are accessed through hover functionality at this time. Last piece is the fact that the auto refresh rate will also change the look and feel of these graphs. So if I were at a paused interval, we would allow the end user to know that we are currently paused, and you'd be able to hover each one of these data points to make sure that you're getting all of those snapshots that you were looking for. If we go to a 3-second interval, you'll notice that we have an x-axis that goes up to 30 in a 3-second interval. 5 seconds brings us up to 30 as well. 10 seconds brings us to a minute. This is because of the vast space between the interval data points, and we wanted to make sure that you had enough information to be able to basically compare and contrast. Moving into the 20-second intervals, you'll notice we have a bit more space in between. This one also goes up to 60 seconds. And then we do have a minute, and this one is changing the graph completely from seconds to minutes. So this one, we do want to make sure we are indicating the 1-minute interval so the end user understands what that axis actually is indicating. I will take one more second here to bring us back up to the desktop version, and I want to point out this 30-second interval max here. When you are on a desktop, you're able to see the data in, at minimum, a 60-second interval. So this would, in my opinion, bring a little bit more value to the 10-second and 20-second intervals, since there will be more data points for the desktop version. But this is just because of how much space our screen allots for us. And if someone is working on the go, we still want to give a snapshot with maybe not as much information as we could if they were working from their office.
Thank you so much, Michael, for the demo.